Welcome back to the Lore Vault. It's good to see you here, seeker of stories.
I want to ask you a question. When you think of evil in Greek mythology, who do you see? Do you see a dark figure sitting on a throne of skulls? Do you see fire? Do you see shadows? Do you see Hades? Of course you do. Hollywood has spent 100 years telling us that Hades is the devil, that he is the villain, because he wears black, because he lives underground, because he manages the dead. But let me tell you a secret that the ancient poets knew well. Hades is not the villain. Hades is a bureaucrat. He is a jailer. He is fair. He doesn't torment you for fun. He just makes sure you don't leave.
No. The real villains of Olympus do not live in the dark. They live in the light. They wear white robes. They have golden hair. They are the gods of music, of wisdom, of marriage, of kingship, and they are sadistic. True sadism is not punishing a sinner. True sadism is punishing an innocent person just because you can. Today, we are putting the gods on trial. We are ranking the top 5 most sadistic deities in the Greek pantheon. We are going to look at the blood on their hands. And I warn you, by the time we reach number 1, you will wish you were safe in the underworld with Hades.
Let's begin with number 5. The goddess who proves that wisdom does not mean mercy. Athena. We like Athena. She is the cool, rational tactician, the patron of heroes. She represents civilization, law, and justice. But there is a dark side to pure logic. It is cold. It is unfeeling. And when Athena strikes, she doesn't strike with passion like Ares. She strikes with the calculated precision of a surgeon.
Consider the case of Arachne. Arachne was not a monster. She was not a queen. She was a simple peasant girl. But she had a gift. She could weave better than anyone on earth. Some said she could weave better than the gods. Now, a benevolent goddess might have been proud. A benevolent goddess might have smiled at human potential. But Athena saw a threat to her ego. She challenged the girl to a contest. Athena wove a tapestry depicting the glory of the gods, order, perfection, hierarchy. Arachne, foolish, brave Arachne, wove the truth. She wove a tapestry depicting the crimes of the gods. She wove Zeus cheating on his wife. She wove Poseidon assaulting mortals. She wove the lies, the deceit, the abuse of power. And the most terrifying part? Her work was flawless. It was better than Athena's.
Athena couldn't find a single mistake in the work. So, she didn't attack the art. She attacked the artist. In a cold rage, the goddess of wisdom took her shuttle and beat the girl. She shredded the tapestry. She shamed her. Arachne, humiliated, and terrified, tried to hang herself to escape the wrath of the god. But Athena wasn't done. "You want to hang?" she whispered. "Then hang forever." She sprinkled the juice of Hecate's herbs onto the dying girl. Watch the transformation. Arachne's hair fell out. Her nose and ears melted away. Her head shrank to the size of a berry. Her slender fingers, the fingers that created art, snapped and elongated into hairy, twitching legs. Her belly swelled into a grotesque bag of silk. She was no longer a human. She was the first spider, condemned to weave forever, but never to create art again. Only webs to catch flies. This is the sadism of Athena. She didn't just kill Arachne. She stripped her of her humanity. She turned her beautiful gift into a curse. And she did it all while maintaining the face of justice. And if you think that was an isolated incident, remember Medusa. We talked about her before. Medusa was raped in Athena's temple by Poseidon. A crime occurred in her house, a desecration. But who did Athena punish? Did she punish her powerful uncle Poseidon? No, that would be politically inconvenient. She punished the victim. She took a traumatized woman and turned her into a monster that everyone would want to kill. Athena teaches us a terrifying lesson. The law is not there to protect the weak. The law is there to protect the powerful. And if you dare to be better than them, if you dare to speak the truth like Arachne, wisdom will find a way to silence you. But Athena, at least, claims to act for order. Our next god doesn't care about order. He cares for adoration. He is the most beautiful god on Olympus, the god of light, music, and healing. But underneath that golden skin is a narcissist so fragile that he will skin you alive just to prove a point. Let's move to number 4.
Number 4, Apollo, the golden boy, the favorite son, the god of healing, music, and light. If you met him, you would be dazzled. He is perfection incarnate. But psychologists have a name for people who need constant admiration, who lack empathy, and who react to criticism with explosive rage. They call them malignant narcissists. Apollo cannot handle losing. He cannot even handle being equaled. Ask Marsyas. Marsyas was a satyr, a half-man, half-goat nature spirit. He found a flute and learned to play it. He played so beautifully that the forest creatures wept. In his pride, he challenged Apollo to a musical contest. Now, a secure god would have laughed. A secure god would have declined. But Apollo? Apollo felt threatened. He accepted the challenge with a condition. The winner could do whatever he wanted to the loser.
Marsyas played with soul. Apollo played with technical perfection. The Muses, afraid of Apollo, declared the god the winner. Marsyas bowed. He expected humiliation.
maybe slavery. But Apollo wanted something far more artistic and far more sick. Apollo tied the satyr to a pine tree. He took out a knife and slowly, methodically, while Marcius was still alive and screaming, Apollo flayed him. He peeled the skin from his body in one single piece. Ovid describes it in terrifying detail. His skin was stripped off the whole surface of his body. He was nothing but one open wound. Blood ran down on every side. The quivering muscles were exposed to view. Apollo didn't just kill him. He turned him into a biological diagram. He hung the skin on the tree as a trophy. Why? Because Marcius dared to be good at music. This is the sadism of Apollo. It is the rage of a perfectionist who destroys anything that might steal his spotlight. And if skinning a man alive isn't enough, remember Niobe, a mortal queen who bragged that she had 14 beautiful children, while Apollo's mother only had 2. It was a foolish boast, an insult. But how did Apollo react? Did he scold her? No. He and his sister Artemis went to Niobe's palace, and one by one, they shot all 14 children. They hunted them down in the courtyard. They didn't kill the mother. No, that would be mercy. They left her alive, surrounded by the corpses of her sons and daughters, so she could suffer forever. Apollo is not the god of healing. He is the god of overkill. I know. It's hard to reconcile these stories with the statues we see in museums. We are taught that these gods were the pinnacle of civilization. But the deeper you dig, the more blood you find. We are dedicated to unearthing the true, dark history of mythology that has been sanitized for centuries. If you have the stomach for the truth, and if you want to be part of our investigation, hit that subscribe button. There are 3 more gods left on our list, and trust me, it gets worse. Now, let's move to number 3. If Apollo was the narcissist, this goddess is the vindictive wife. She is the queen of heaven, Hera. Hera is a complex case. In modern terms, she is the victim of a toxic, abusive marriage. Zeus cheats on her constantly. He disrespects her. He gaslights her. But Hera cannot punish Zeus. He is too strong. He is the king. So all that rage, all that humiliation has to go somewhere. And it goes to the most innocent targets imaginable, the victims. Hera's sadism is terrifying because it is misplaced. She doesn't hate the husband who betrayed her. She hates the women he assaulted. She hates the children born from those assaults. She represents the darkest cycle of abuse. The victim becomes the abuser. Look at Heracles. He was an innocent baby. He didn't ask to be born. He was the son of Zeus and a mortal woman. Hera hated him from the moment he took his first breath. She sent 2 venomous snakes into his crib to strangle him.
Imagine that. The Queen of Gods, looking down from Olympus, trying to murder an infant in his sleep. When that failed, she waited. She played the long game. She waited until Heracles was a grown man, a hero, happily married with children of his own. And then she snapped his mind. She sent a fit of madness upon him. In a hallucination, Heracles saw his wife and children as monsters. He drew his sword, and he butchered his own family. When he woke up, covered in their blood, Hera lifted the madness just so he could see what he had done. She destroyed his soul. She made him carry the guilt of murdering his own children for the rest of his life. That is not justice. That is pure malice.
And the women?
Io, a priestess, seduced by Zeus. Hera turned her into a cow. But that wasn't enough. She sent a gadfly, a biting insect, to sting her endlessly. Io was forced to wander the earth, never sleeping, never resting, driven mad by the pain of the sting, trapped in the body of a beast. Callisto, another victim, turned into a bear and nearly hunted to death by her own son. Hera is number 3 because her sadism is relentless. She doesn't just kill you, she takes away your humanity, she destroys your family, and she ensures that every moment of your life is a living hell, all because she cannot face the real villain, her husband.
We are now entering the realm of the big 3. Number 2, Poseidon. We have talked about him before, but in this list, he earns his spot not because of his power, but because of his pettiness. Athena punishes you to maintain order. Hera punishes you to avenge her honor. Poseidon punishes you because you hurt his feelings. And he never, ever lets it go. He is the cosmic equivalent of a schoolyard bully with a nuclear weapon. His sadism is rooted in his insecurity. He is the second best, and he takes that anger out on anyone smaller than him.
The case of Odysseus is the perfect example of sadistic stalking. Odysseus didn't kill Poseidon's son. He blinded him in self-defense to stop from being eaten. A rational judge would call that justified. Poseidon called it a declaration of war. For 10 years, he tortured this mortal man. He didn't kill him quickly, that's the key. He drowned his friends one by one. He smashed his ships. He starved him. He let him get close to home, close enough to see the smoke from his own chimney, and then blew him back into the middle of the ocean. That is psychological torture. That is playing with your food. But if you want to see the truly twisted nature of Poseidon, look at the story of the Minotaur. King Minos of Crete offended Poseidon by refusing to sacrifice a specific bull. A simple insult. How did Poseidon retaliate? Did he strike Minos with lightning? Did he flood the city? No, that would be too direct. He wanted to humiliate the king. He wanted to destroy his legacy. So he cursed Minos' wife, Queen Pasiphae.
He made the queen fall in lust with the bull. Imagine the horror of that madness. A human woman driven by a divine curse to desire an animal. It is grotesque. It is a violation of nature. The result of that union was the Minotaur, a man-eating monster that Minos had to hide in a labyrinth. Poseidon destroyed a family, traumatized a woman, and created a monster that would eat children for generations, all because a king didn't give him the gift he wanted. That is not a god. That is a petty tyrant. And now we reach the top of the mountain. We have seen the cold justice of Athena, the vanity of Apollo, the bitterness of Hera, the rage of Poseidon, but none of them compare to number one.
Number 1 is the king, the father of gods and men, Zeus. If you think Zeus is the benevolent, white-bearded grandfather figure of Disney movies, you have been lied to. In the original myths, Zeus is the apex predator. He is the definition of absolute power, corrupting absolutely. His sadism is not driven by insecurity like Poseidon or jealousy like Hera. It is driven by entitlement. He takes what he wants, he destroys what he fears, and he answers to no one. Let's start with his rise to power. We know his father, Cronus, ate his children. We call Cronus a monster for that. But Zeus? Zeus did the exact same thing. When his first wife Metis, the goddess of wisdom, became pregnant, a prophecy said her child would be stronger than Zeus. Zeus didn't wait for the child to be born. He tricked Metis, and he swallowed her whole. He ate his own pregnant wife. He absorbed her wisdom and erased her existence. This is the foundation of his rule: cannibalism and paranoia.
But how does he treat his friends? Look at Prometheus. Prometheus fought beside Zeus in the Titan War. He helped him become king. But when Prometheus gave fire to humans, trying to help the weak, Zeus didn't just imprison him. He designed a torture chamber specifically for him. He chained Prometheus to a rock in the Caucasus Mountains. Every day, a giant eagle, an emblem of Zeus himself, would fly down. It would tear open Prometheus's abdomen. It would rip out his liver, and it would eat it in front of his eyes. Because Prometheus was immortal, the liver would grow back every night, so the torture could happen again the next morning, forever. Think about the mind that designs that punishment. It's not just about pain, it's about ritual, it's about eternity. It is the ultimate expression of sadism.
But the torture of Prometheus is just one man. To understand the true scale of Zeus's villainy, we have to look at his relationships. We often call Zeus a lover. We see paintings of him in museums, romanticized by Renaissance artists. But let's strip away the paint. Let's look at the police report. Zeus is not a lover. He is a serial predator. His modus operandi is terrifying because it relies on two things:
deception, and power. He rarely appears as himself. He knows that his true form is too terrifying. So he infiltrates the lives of his victims, disguised as something harmless, something they trust. Look at the story of Leda. She was walking by a river. She saw a swan, a beautiful, injured bird being chased by an eagle. Her instinct was compassion. She wanted to protect the bird. She held it in her arms, and in that moment of vulnerability, the swan attacked. It wasn't a bird, it was the king of gods. He used her compassion as a weapon against her. The result of that assault was the birth of Helen of Troy, the spark that would burn an entire civilization to the ground. Zeus destroys lives not just with lightning, but with lies. Look at Europa, a young princess playing in a field of flowers. Zeus appeared as a gentle white bull. He acted tame. He let her pet him. He let her climb onto his back. And the moment she was seated, he bolted. He ran into the ocean. He swam for hours, dragging a terrified, screaming girl far away from her home to the island of Crete, where she had no escape. This isn't romance. This is abduction. The list goes on and on. Danae, trapped in a tower. Alcmene, tricked into thinking Zeus was her husband. Callisto, a follower of Artemis, seduced and then abandoned to the wrath of Hera. Zeus treats mortals and minor goddesses not as beings with rights, but as property. Toys to be played with and then discarded when they are broken. But individual victims are not enough for a god of this magnitude. Sometimes his sadism extends to the entire human race. We often talk about the biblical flood, but the Greeks had their own version, the flood of Deucalion, and the reason for it reveals everything you need to know about Zeus's psychology.
It started with a king named Lycaon. Lycaon was a wicked man. To test if Zeus was truly all-knowing, Lycaon killed a boy, cooked him, and served him to Zeus for dinner. It was a horrific crime. Zeus realized the trick. He was furious. He turned Lycaon into a wolf, the first werewolf. That punishment fits the crime. But Zeus wasn't satisfied. He decided that because one man was evil, all men must be evil. He didn't conduct a trial. He didn't sort the good from the bad. He decided to wipe the board clean. He opened the heavens. He unleashed the waters. He drowned the farmers in the fields. He drowned the mothers in their homes. He drowned the children playing in the streets. Millions of lives extinguished, not because they were all guilty, but because the king was angry.
This is the ultimate definition of sadistic tyranny, collective punishment, the belief that the lives of millions are worth less than the ego of one god. When you look at the floodwaters rising, you realize that Poseidon's storms and Apollo's arrows are nothing compared to this. Zeus is the only god who has attempted genocide. So, we have seen the evidence, the coldness of Athena, the vanity of Apollo, the bitterness of Hera, the pettiness of Poseidon, and the absolute, unchecked tyranny of Zeus. But what does this all mean? Why did the Greeks, the founders of logic and democracy, worship such monsters? The answer is the most terrifying part of all.
So, we have seen the evidence, the cold injustice of Athena, the deadly vanity of Apollo, the bitter rage of Hera, the petty tyranny of Poseidon, and the serial predation of Zeus. This leaves us with a terrifying question. Why? Why did the ancient Greeks, the people who invented democracy, logic, and philosophy, worship such monsters? Did they not see the hypocrisy? Did they not see the cruelty? The answer is simple, but it is hard to swallow. The Greeks did not create their gods to be moral guides. They did not look to Olympus for love, or comfort, or forgiveness. They looked to Olympus to explain reality. And reality is sadistic. Think about it. Apollo is the sun. The sun gives life, yes, but if you stand in it too long, it burns you. It gives you cancer. It dries up your crops. Poseidon is the sea. The sea feeds you, but it also drowns you without a second thought. Zeus is the storm. Lightning strikes the good man and the bad man equally. It does not care. The Greeks understood something we have forgotten. Power is not good. Power is simply power. It is dangerous, it is volatile, it crushes the weak. The gods are not sadistic because they are evil. They are sadistic because they are forces of nature. And nature has no empathy. And this brings us back to where we started. Back to the one god who didn't make the list, Hades. Why is the god of hell the only one who isn't a monster? Because Hades represents the only thing in the universe that is truly fair. Death.
Death doesn't care if you are rich or poor. Death doesn't care if you are a king or a beggar. Death treats everyone exactly the same. Hades doesn't rape. He doesn't chase. He doesn't throw temper tantrums because you didn't sacrifice a bull. He just waits. He is the only adult in a room full of spoiled, powerful children. So, the next time you see a movie where Hades is the villain and Zeus is the hero, remember this list. Remember Arachne.
remember Marsyas, remember Medusa, and realize that in Greek mythology, the safest place to be is not in the beautiful, light-filled palaces of Olympus. The safest place is in the dark.
This list barely scratched the surface of the crimes committed by the king of gods. We mentioned Zeus's cannibalism. We mentioned the flood. But there is one story, one specific secret about Zeus's rise to power that changes everything. A story so dark, it explains why he is so terrified of his own children. If you want to see the full, uncensored criminal record of the King of Olympus, click this video right here, The Dark Psychology of Zeus. We are going to put the king on trial, and this time, there will be no mercy. I'll see you on the witness stand.
Thanks for watching. Until next time, keep seeking the lore.